Nothing can quite convey the destruction war is capable of like World War II, and to get a true perspective on the subject, you have to talk to someone who actually lived through it. I had the honor of doing such a thing with my grandparents. They asked me to have their faces blurred out, but their stories remain just as real. Welcome to the 1940s, everybody. Home to the war that affected everyone. To start out, do you think you guys could just tell me what you remember from World War II, what was happening, where you were?
Your grandfather, myself, was in Kansas at the time, and I remember it was a Sunday morning. For some reason, we were not going to church that day, and we heard the news that Pearl Harbor had been bombed. So we all gathered around the radio to listen to the news.
Hmm.
And then, of course, the next day is the day that Roosevelt declared war on Japan. That's where I was.
I was on the West Coast in California, and we probably saw more action there because we were on the West Coast. My father was called, because he was in the State Guard, he was called off, and whenever he was called away, we never knew where he was going, but they were sent all over California, but they just never were able to tell the family where they were. It's not well-known history, but there were Japanese submarines off the California coast. So
They actually shelled in the area of Long Beach. Evidently did not do any major damage, but it was we were still attacked.
and because we were on the coast, we had heavy blinds that whenever they thought there was any danger, we had to pull them down. So we had what were called blackouts.
Yes.
At first, as a child, I didn't see any difference between whether we were war or not because I was only 10. But, as it went on, then we had to get ration books for food, for clothing, for shoes, for gas. If I remember right, the rationing for gas was like 3 gallons a week.
Yeah.
So you couldn't really go many places. And in Abilene, we walked everywhere anyway because it was such a small town.
In our town, we had a camp where all the Japanese families were put, and one of my best friends in high school had spent her childhood in a camp, and we used to drive past it. We just thought, oh, that's where our enemy is because we're at war. As an 8-year-old, we didn't think too much about it.
Many of them lost their homes and their businesses because they couldn't sell them before they were relocated to the camps. And after the war, there was no restitution made. Their citizenship was taken away from them as Japanese.
Yeah.
Then later on, after the war, several years after the war, they were restored, given back their citizenship.
Do you guys want me to ask you any opinion questions as far as, how did you feel about the war? What were your thoughts, or did you have any thoughts as a 10 or an 8-year-old?
In retrospect, it was a very patriotic time because we were attacked. We didn't go on the offensive to attack another nation. We were wrong, and we had to take action. To me, it was a very moral decision that had to be made. We had to protect ourselves. And so that war, I feel, was one that was justified. I don't approve of war particularly, but there are times you have to resist the evil that would take away your freedoms.
And whenever we heard that a troop train was coming through, everybody would rush down to where the train was coming through, and we'd all stand there and wave at them and encourage the soldiers as they would hang out the windows and off of the back of the cars and so on. So we were very supportive of the troops.
San Diego was a huge naval base, and so San Diego was full of naval personnel. And of course, you saw them all over town. They were in church, and everywhere you went, the Navy was there.
We didn't get much detail like today. The wives and the mothers did not know where their loved ones were going. There was obviously no quick communication. Everything was by letter. Sometimes it would be months and months before they heard.
I have pictures also of the Lockheed plant in Burbank, California, they camouflaged that. They have a picture of it as it was, and then with the camouflage, and it was very difficult to tell that there was really a plant there. So they went to a lot of effort to try to, protect, our resources that we had for the war.
What were your parents' roles as far as what were they doing while the war was going on?
My dad had the grocery store, but he never knew when he would be called out to the State Guard. It was usually some emergency situation.
Were you guys part of the Victory Garden crew?
Everybody had victory gardens, and anything that the family couldn't use, you would share with others who didn't have.
When the war ended, what was your feeling like, your emotions? Were you relieved or?
We were always sure that the United States was going to win. We had no doubt about that. But the day that it was announced that it was over, you heard cheering wherever you were. It was a very happy time.
Is there like any one thought that you would like to tell future generations about wartime experiences or war in general?
We feel we should support and encourage our troops no matter where they are.
Whether we agree today with the wars that we're in, we still need to support our troops who are there in danger's path.
Anything else you would like to add on the subject?
I can't think of anything. Again, when you look back, you find that we weren't told everything probably, but we probably didn't need to know everything at that point.
There are very few people like my grandparents that are still alive today. I encourage all of you to go and find a veteran who fought in World War II or someone who managed to live through it, and talk to them about their experiences and lives during the war. Not just for a grade for an assignment, but for your own interest as well. You'd be amazed at how much the textbooks leave out. In the meantime, thanks for watching.